Yeah, it is still this morning on ITV. It's time now for another talking point. Here we'll be looking at what happened in Nigeria in 2012. That's about 11 years ago, where over 600 people lost their lives. Many people were displaced. Students didn't return back to school for that particular term because the school became shelter to those that were displaced. We cannot actually estimate those that suffered from cholera and other diseases associated with flooding. And that happened because the Cameroon opened a dam, the popular Lado Dam. Yeah, and then in barely a decade, in 2022, 10 years exactly, that happened again, and we saw the number of persons that we are victim. As we speak, we have 7 days left for that same dam to be opened. And each time that announcement is made, you see that government officials, residents in waterways, those whose family are resident there, and of course those who are not even close to waterways, everybody is, you see everybody running from pillar to post, all trying to see what can be done to prevent the effect of flooding, because each time the Lado Dam is open, it comes with huge flood. What can be done? What permanent solution can we have to tackle this, especially as we have a new government in place? To do this, I have with me a senior lecturer from the University of Abuja, Dr. Lakule. Very good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning.
Yeah, so we were here 10 years ago. It happened last year, and we have 7 days to go for the one that also happened in the current year. Why is this happening every now and then?
It is the failure of the Nigerian government to do the needful. The problem looked big, but there is a particular solution to the problem that has not been done for the past 40 years. We are not serious in this country. We are not. It is the failure of the Nigerian government to construct the Dasin Hausa Dam as agreed in 1982 that is creating all these unnecessary problems. Because if the Nigerian government had constructed their own dam, once they release water from Lado Dam, our own dam takes the water. But we have failed to do this for the past 40 years. There is definitely something wrong with us in this country. There is definitely something wrong with us. Why is Nigeria as a country just acting like this car they call big for nothing? Yes.
No, Nigeria is not.
No.
It cannot be likened to that.
You see, it can.
Let me tell you
this. You are a Nigerian, I'm a Nigerian. The amount of money they have looted from the treasury of this country is enough to construct that dam. But year in, year out, you continue to tell Nigerians to relocate from their various houses. You tell them temporary this. You take them to secondary schools. They become internally displaced persons. Some even in turn become refugees because they have to leave the shores of their own country. Like people in Adamawa, they may have every reason to leave the shores of Nigerian country and even fled to places like Cameroon. You understand? This thing is very painful. What does it cost the Nigerian government to construct this dam? If you construct this dam, it can even serve as a source of irrigation farming, food production. Most of the states that are listed, let me just say, the state that will be mostly affected are food producing states of this country. Nasarawa, Benue, Adamawa, Kogi. Kogi, for instance, is going to be in a very serious trouble. That is the confluent state. If there is any overflow in River Niger, there is any overflow in River Benue, they are coming to Kogi to meet. We saw what happened last year. As of last year, 3.2 million people were affected. 1.2 million were displaced. 2,717 people injured, and 617 people died. What is wrong with us in Nigeria? We toy with people's lives as if people's lives mean nothing. You are telling people to you are advising people to clear drainages, to do this. This problem is not a problem that can be solved through the clearing of drainages. What is our problem? We watch our people suffering. We watch our people lamenting. We watch our people going through pains. Yet we sound so insensitive.
Yeah, but at the moment, what can be done?
At the moment, what we have is just temporary measure. And the temporary when you say something is temporary, it's something that cannot last long. It's something that cannot last long. 7 days from now.
7 days from now, what can we activate? Can we activate a medical team? Can we activate, NEMA, what can they do at this time? They need to start to gather grains. They need to start to, do we have the helicopters that can be able to remove people, from, those that may be trapped? What can we do at this time? Because, maybe after now we can begin to talk about the need for government to go on with that 1982 plan, like you said.
How many helicopters do we have?
Yeah.
How many do we have? And how efficient and how effective is NEMA? How efficient and how effective is NEMA?
They can distribute at least food items.
You see, this problem goes beyond distribution of food items.
No, I'm only looking at what follows displacement as a result of flood.
Now,
the people that will be camped, the people that will become IDPs, they need to feed.
When you fail to find...
They need medical attention.
You see, when you fail to find a permanent solution to a problem, temporary solutions will also create other problems. For instance,
now
school children will soon resume.
Yeah.
By the time you begin to take IDPs to these schools,
the schools will not resume.
The schools will not resume. Yeah. You are creating another problem.
Yeah, people need to survive.
And people need to survive. You are creating another problem, for God's sake. Since last year, what measures have we taken? We have never witnessed what happened last year before. And what have we done since that last year to now? Remember the former minister of water resources, I think Suleiman Adamu or something. In 2016, when they came in, they had to cancel that project. They gave it to another consultant to come and do some kind of fake designs and some other stuff. So for the past 40 years, we have been dragging and dragging. And last year they did a whole lot of damage control. Because at a point the man even said the flood was not as a result of the water from the Lagdo Dam. That was a blatant lie. It was just pure damage control. It was just pure damage control. Now, from that 2016 and now, what have they achieved? What is the situation?
You are looking at a permanent solution.
The permanent solution
you are still talking about the permanent solution.
Yes.
We are talking about in a week's time, the Lagdo Dam will be open. And it's definitely going to displace
since the memo came up.
And we know that people have been living at the waterways. Each time it comes, they leave the waterways. When the flood goes, they come back. What's happening? Why do we allow them to come back? Don't we have agencies that will prevent them from coming back? Don't we have agencies that will say you cannot build here, irrespective of how much your house must have cost? That house has to go. Can't we at least have some kind of some kind of national demolition, so to speak, where you move from state to state, houses that are built on waterways are removed in such a way that people will not be panicking?
Are there no countries where they build houses on water?
Yeah, but not on waterways. Not on waterways.
Let me tell you this.
Even if you go to the
you see, most of these places you call waterways. Now you want to demolish people's houses. You want to tell them to relocate.
Not now. I'm saying after the flood.
After the flood,
you
fine.
make sure they don't come back to that place.
If they don't come back to those places, where have you given them to stay?
So when the flood was there, they were not there.
They
survived somewhere.
You see, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. Until that dam is constructed, we cannot mitigate this problem. Look at it now. This issue is a simple thing. Every year, you and I know that once they open the dam, there is a problem. And the only thing that can solve that problem is to have our own dam that will take the water as it's coming from that dam. 40 years, 4 decades, Nigeria has not been able to do anything. If that dam collapses, it will consume some of our states. The states will go. Only release of water is what is creating this massive havoc. You now imagine there is a collapse in that dam. What will happen? And the Cameroonian government cannot be looking at us because they may not be able to attack Nigeria as a bigger country. But deep down, they know we are not serious. If the Cameroonian government can construct such dam, and it's taking Nigerian government over 40 years to construct theirs, something is wrong now.
Yeah.
Now,
no, you are looking at a.
There is going to be.
You are looking at the governors.
The governors, since the memo came out, they have been engaging various states, emergency, outfits, go to places, orientate them, tell them, give them reasons they need to vacate flood-prone areas. They have been able to engage those who are vulnerable to the flooding. Do you understand? They have been able to do that. But that is not enough. Because the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, as at last year, I remember from their outlook, they said 178 local governments will be affected. And the rise in water right now is around 8.9 meters. Far more than what happened last year. So what we are envisaging now, what we expect now is that the problem would be bigger. We had a whole lot of year to prepare. Fine. Nigerians need to also, be sensitive to their own personal problems. Most Nigerians know this problem is going to consume me. They know there are problems that can consume them, but they will never be bothered. Nonchalant attitude. Ordinarily, it sounds insane for somebody to build a house on waterways because the force at which water moves, my brother, is not funny. If you are inside ordinary swimming pool, the way water pushes you, you will know that water is not something you toy with. Not to talk of, massive flooding. And we are just looking at the effects. It's also going to have great implication on our food production. You remember last year, thousands of hectares of rice farmlands were washed off. If you fail to address a particular problem, you are going to find yourself having so many problems. So in the meantime, the government should be ready. The helicopters we have is not enough. It is not enough. How many people can they evacuate? How many people can they evacuate? They just need to talk to people. And I hope Nigerians this time around will listen. Because when you are alive, you still have hope. It is when you are dead that you're finished. The dead does not have any relationship with the living any longer. And I know everybody wants to live. So I would urge Nigerians that at this time that there is an impending danger, they should be sensitive to their own lives. They should, be able to protect their own lives. Children, women, in situations like this are always the vulnerable persons because they do not have the power, to protect themselves the way other persons would do. So Nigerians just need to bear the pain. The pain is abnormal. because it is not necessarily, a it's, let me say, it's also a self-imposed problems. If you build your house on waterways, you should know that you are bringing a problem to yourself, right? But if that dam is also constructed, don't forget that the flood is not only going to affect those who have built on waterways. Yes, look at what happened last year in Lokoja, for instance. Most of those houses that were submerged were not on waterways. But it was due to the fact that the waterways were already blocked. Just look at Kogi. We are supposed to have reconstructed the Muritala Mohammed Bridge. It's still there. And at times water even overflowed. It's somehow. We need to dredge all these, places. Constant dredging. Nigerian government knows that this is the peak of the raining season. And they are supposed to have been able to dredge all these areas.
To make it deeper.
To make it deeper. But we are not doing all these things. We are not. It is painful. People just continue to, die on a yearly basis.
As we speak now,
yes,
should the state prone to this imminent flood allow residents to voluntarily, live where they are, or they can forcefully evacuate them?
They don't need to forcefully evacuate them in the initial
stage.
There was a time I know by now.
Residents were forcefully evacuated.
I know by now. People are already leaving because no one wants to die. Yes. Yeah, but it is not everybody that will leave.
Yeah, but those that believe that they can swim, they'll tell you where they'll be monitoring the water. When it comes close, they'll pack out.
You see, the beginning of a problem is what you can envisage. You cannot even predict where it will end. Anybody who believes because he or she can swim, you are waiting for such amount of water, please, I advise you, stay off those areas. Nigerians right now need to leave. If you are alive, you can build another house. I'm sorry to say this. Most of those houses on waterways are more or less like houses people have built as palliatives for themselves, because that is the best they can afford. Most of those who built their houses on those places are not people who are, who are of the upper class. They are just people who have been able to do maybe a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom to accommodate their families.
But in future, if government, when I mean government now because it's a national thing, identify houses on this plane and remove them forcefully, to what extent would that
I don't have a problem removing them forcefully. The government is not removing them on the basis of frivolities.
Yeah.
They are removing them because they want to protect them. So when government remove them, I don't have any problem with that. I don't. But as you are removing them, you also need to put in measures that will, mitigate the further problems they may encounter. I don't have any problem removing them. In fact, if anybody who refuses to leave should be removed forcefully. Coercion is one of the means of controlling people. When you talk of social control, you are talking about the means of making people adhere strictly to norms and values, rules and regulations. Nigerians are not good at respecting rules and regulations, and Nigerians are not good at adhering strictly to norms and values of the society. So if they are removed, it is not a bad idea. But as you are removing them, make sure that there are places you are taking them to. We are blessed in this country. We are blessed in this country. So we should give them better relocation, not putting them in secondary, primary schools. Because when you put them in those places, you are creating another social problem.
There's another school of thought that believe that some state governors enjoy it when there's flood, because it's an avenue for them to make money. Most time, so much is declared as what is used to mitigate the suffering of those that are victims, but in actual sense, it is not actually, it's not the actual figure used to actually, provide some kind of succor and palliative for the victims.
You are right. Because
so what can we do to prevent it this year?
Most of the challenges we face in this country is because we don't have proper records. there are things you want to do to Nigerians that doesn't even need to go through the governors. Because governors in their own various states are like presidents. They do and undo. They are so powerful.
Very powerful.
We don't have a social register that is accurate. If we do, and we know the number of persons we have in this country, we know the number of persons who are vulnerable at this moment, why do you need to go and meet a state governor to you don't? It's an avenue to loot, because every slight opportunity people have in this country, they steal. It may not necessarily be the governor. It could even be the local government chairman, because this thing is hierarchy. When you are bringing it, you are meeting the local government chairman. The local government chairman in turn will hand over those things to the councillor in charge of the ward that is affected. So before you know, there is this nepotism, favoritism. Some will even go and hide those things in their various houses and sell.
Most of them have warehouses.
They have warehouses. So we need character reconfiguration in this country.
So how can we go about that?
It is just to hold people accountable.
Yeah, but there are already existing platforms, existing government agencies that hold people accountable.
You know, when people want to commit crime, the people who commit crime are always very sharp, because before you move one step, they have moved about 5. That is why we have not been able to tackle crime or criminality in this country to an extent. Because there is this institutional cooperation. You work in NEMA, I work in fire service. You know how to give me mine, I know how to give you yours. Even in the process of investigation, I will try to, cut corners to make sure you don't even get adequate information about what has happened. If you are going to somewhere to give them palliatives, you are going there to distribute materials. NEMA, we have given FCT 10,000 bags of rice. Drop the 10,000 bags of rice. Let Nigerians see that what you have shared is 10,000. Nobody will question you. Am I correct? NEMA, we gave Kogi 50,000 bags of rice. Okay, Kogi state government, this is 50,000 bags of rice. Ajaokuta, Okene, Kaba, Ijumu, we are taking to 2,000. When it gets to that local government, drop the 2,000 like this. Be sharing it. Let people count it and let them know it is up to 2,000. When it is up to 2,000, what would anybody say again? It's because there is no transparency. It is all about who you know. It is all about who voted for you. Don't be surprised that when these palliatives even come, most governors will attend to their party faithfuls first, before even understanding the fact that everybody is from the state. These are the petty problems that is creating larger problems. There are problems that sound little, but they have great effects and impacts. These are the things we're experiencing. But as regards to the issue of this flooding, I don't pray for anything terrible, because I know we must have learnt a bit from what happened last year. Many travelers could not travel. There were goods that got spoiled along the road.
Sure.
Complaints here and there.
Yeah, because you can buy other...
This is only River Benue. Do you understand? What if there is a problem in River Niger? That means states like Niger Delta will also run, because states like Delta, Bayelsa, they are just water. So there is going to be another problem. But Kogi, to be precise, they need to be proactive. They need to be proactive. Don't be surprised that in the next 7, 8, 9 days, people will not be able to travel between Kotonkaripi, Abaji, and Lokoja. And Kogi State has border with 9 other states. 9. You now imagine people not being able to move around. 9. Kogi State is the only state that has border with 9 other states. 9.
All right, Amos, thank you for your time with us on the program.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we just hope that all that we have said, all that you have said, will be worked on by the relevant stakeholders. One of them is the fact that we also need to build a buffer. The buffer means we should also build our own dam.
We need it. It is very important.
That will take in.
I urge
President
Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to please look into it, because if we're able to do that, it will help us a lot. Honestly, it will. We will not be coming here talking about this flooding. It will mostly be internal one, because when we have water in our dam, irrigation farming, people can farm abundant food. Please, President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, please, you need to help us look into this situation. It is very important.
All right, I'm sure he has heard you, Doctor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is where we wrap up the discussion for today. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, it will be the concluding part of the program. Stay